Welcome to Carbitrage Podcast episode 81. Wow, that's hard to remember right now. I'm Eric Berger, joined as always by my co-host Ryan Sinitsky. Hi.
Hey.
But I got it. I didn't slip.
No, you didn't.
I was not like Freud.
No, I'm not saying it until I've got it memorized.
That's fine.
So there's
luckily I'm gonna do my very best. So.
If you missed episode 80 for whatever reason,
go back and listen to it.
The TLDR is we have a new name now.
Yep.
We are no longer Motor Cult. We are now
Carbitrage.
Anyway, so
nice one.
Let's see here. You have we have beer that's being drank.
Yeah, I'm still on the actual physical same beer as we were on episode 80.
I got a Northeast. It's good.
Perfect. We have recently stuffed our tummies full of Chipotle, which was good as
was
well.
Also good.
No recalled lettuce that I'm aware of in Chipotle's system right now.
And they listened to your name request.
They did. I wrote no cilantro as my name, and they got it right.
Yep. So there's no
by
cilantro
not putting a name on the burrito and leaving cilantro out of the ingredients.
There you go. It's
props
perfect.
to you, Chanhassen Chipotle.
That is fantastic. And we are all vaccinated, which is a good thing.
We are, thank goodness. We are all more than 3 years old.
And we are vaccinated.
Vaccinated.
We have lived.
We have. And there's
vaccinate your children.
That is completely
I never got the
causation.
chickenpox.
I did get the chickenpox.
I was vaccinated, and I guess you can genetically be less prone to getting it. So my babies are gonna be hella dope. Nice. I had a Jurassic Park marathon with 2 kids with chickenpox, and my sister had it. I never got it.
Yeah, if you didn't get it from 2 chickenpoxy children, you're probably solid.
You know, I'm gonna say right here that's the difference in our age, because you can say you had a Jurassic Park marathon when you were a kid. I was 7 by the time you could.
Ryan, let me stop you there. You can have a Jurassic Park marathon at any age.
Well, see, if you're born in 1991 and the year is 1995, your Jurassic Park marathon will be about an hour and a half, because there's gonna be one movie.
There was 1 or 2. I don't
but
remember.
you could just
second one
watch the
came out in
same movie
1997.
over and
was it
over and
that
over
late?
again.
Yeah. No, I had a Star Wars
Laserdisc
marathon.
players have a repeat function.
Yeah, I had a Star Wars marathon for my chickenpox party.
I didn't have a chickenpox party. I just had a really long bath and then went to sleep.
Okay. On that bombshell.
But I woke back up again, so
Good.
That's good.
That's good. Yeah, you woke back up.
Thanks to the vaccine.
I
exposed
am
to.
vaccinated.
That does not happen with anti-vaxxer kids.
No, they go to
They
sleep.
go to sleep forever.
And then, they never wake back up because their parents are retarded.
It's like that "Close My Eyes Forever" song by Lita Ford and Ozzy Osbourne.
I'm not sure if I've heard that.
I'm not going to.
Is it about anti-vaccinated kids?
I think so, because it's about closing your eyes forever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The suicide prevention hotline is not going to help you on that one if you don't have your vaccines.
You need to have your vaccines.
And speaking of vaccines, I want to talk about electric cars.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
We talked earlier in the week on the podcast about just how cold it was this last week, and briefly touched on the Fiat 500e. And I want to talk about something that isn't necessarily temperature related. I want to talk about, if you have one of these things and you're actually putting some miles on it, about what you actually do need to do to maintain one. Because I changed the gear case fluid in mine. So basically there's no transmission, there's no engine. But there's a motor, and then there's a 3-stage reduction drive with a differential in it.
Okay.
So I changed the differential oil basically in my car. And I posted photos of this on the Worldwide Owners Club page, just because nobody's ever posted mechanical photos of these cars before. And people are like, why would you do that? It's not on the recommended maintenance thing for the car. You don't have to change fluids. I'm like, because it's still a differential, still has giant chunks of metal flinging around at 1 billion miles an hour, and I beat the ever-living piss out of this car. Also, it's leaking.
Well, not only that, you see, every time a manufacturer's ever said something is a lifetime fluid, it is not.
It's bullshit. Because the company that they buy that part from has a spec, and it's not lifetime.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's Volkswagen. They say you can use your DSG fluid for the life of the transmission, and you can.
Yeah, the life of the transmission is 40,000 miles.
Exactly. Just like saying you can not vaccinate your children, but they're going to live 40,000 miles.
Exactly.
And they'll be dead within 5 years.
Probably fewer, actually. 40,000 miles of foot traffic is quite a bit.
Yeah, and they'll probably get disease doing that.
If we count car traffic that the children are in.
That's the thing. It's I don't. At this point, I've got no faith in manufacturer recommendations.
Oh,
for
God,
stuff.
no.
Because I do whatever the lowest common denominator is of all cars.
Pretty much.
Because Volkswagen says, again, Volkswagen, you can go 10,000 miles on an oil change. weirdly enough, they have massive timing chain issues, and they
I
are
wonder why the
spec-
corporate 2 liters are so bad. A lot of it is down to the oil change.
Well, they're spec to use 1 quart of oil for every 1,000 miles. So if you,
oh my God.
yeah, that's called acceptable oil consumption
But
on a 2OT.
But it isn't. you
Do
see.
that math. So
That's 10 quarts of oil per
10 quarts of-
4-quart oil change.
yeah, it's a 4.9 quart oil pan in a
Okay.
2OT. So you will use all of the oil in your vehicle twice over by the time you're ready for your oil change by using just factory recommendations.
What you're saying is never change your oil in your TSI, just change the filter once every 5 years?
I don't think you're supposed to even do that.
Oh. Does it have a lifetime filter?
No, it's just every 10,000 miles. And I don't know what it doesn't say. Do the oil and filter. It says oil change.
Yikes.
Yeah. So there is that.
But anyway, I posted the photos of me doing this with like the drain plug and the fill plug and where it is and why on the owners group, and like you can't with text it's hard to pick up on nuance with like sarcasm and like hatred and just like why the hell would you do this? But like people were ass mad that I was like somehow servicing and like putting oil into some part of this electric car. I'm like, it came from the factory with 3 functional fluids in it.
I
I'm
really wish I
changing
could see
some
this
of them.
thread. I'd love to look
Join the
through
Fiat
comments.
500e owners club. You can just watch all this go down. But like people were just like typing these paragraphs about how I didn't need to touch anything in the car, like it's maintenance free. I'm like, no, it still has friction brakes. So you need to do brake fluid, like
There's
a lot.
nothing maintenance free about any
It
car.
still has a diff. Differentials are the same between electric and gas-powered vehicles. They have the same service life, the same fluid, and just I mean, it's got coolant
How is
in
a car?
it too.
How
so-
is a car maintenance free?
It isn't. These
There's
people are just
nothing-
retarded. The people that own electric cars are the worst people.
No, they truly are. Well, it's a lot of early adopters that
It
don't
is.
really know anything about cars and are just
They're
caught
buying
up
them
in
for
the
the
hype.
wrong reason.
They're caught up in the hype. And I think more people should buy electric cars, and I love electric cars, and
they
it's
will.
not for the reasons why these lentil, quinoa eating hippies like these cars. I like
Right.
these cars because they are brutally fast. Like even a Leaf is quick. Like they are
Yep.
awesome cars. So
And they are. It's great. I mean, I think I had better luck with my crappy little ancient EV than I would have with my FJ, probably on those days.
yeah,
I mean,
probably.
other than just like, oh, I have to charge it a bunch more today. Big deal.
Well, the other thing is like you don't have to worry about like oil freezing or
Right.
like fuel lines
Yeah,
or anything. like
everything
that.
was fine. Like I
Yeah.
just turned the key and like the LCD that shows me all the info was a bit slower to respond.
Yeah, shocking.
There you go.
Um,
I had the same issue as you though. The coilovers with
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
the-
you
it
get
felt
really-
like concrete. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
it's, Well, so that's actually kind of an interesting little engineering thing. We'll bring that back for a second. Interesting
It's
engineering.
fluid viscosity. It's all it is.
Yeah, it is. But so when they make coilovers,
Mm-hmm.
they use a different viscosity of oil inside of them. So if you crack open a coilover, usually they're not gas shock. They're usually an oil-based shock.
Which is weird.
Yeah. But the oil-based shocks, they do that because you can control for viscosity a lot easier. So with that, and when you're doing like custom setups, it's way easier to do that than like have to like totally revalve literally everything. You just put a different viscosity. It can change. It can affect things.
Yep. And different compositions of fluid too. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. But the oil they use is actually different than your standard car shock because it's designed to take more immediate movement. It's
Yeah,
designed to have
less amplitude but more.
more
frequency or whatever,
frequency,
yeah.
more frequency than amplitude. So that's why that happens. It doesn't break down and doesn't break everything. So that's actually why your coilovers do get stiffer. And yeah, like in my van, I forgot to mention that, but mine were they went from like standard on a day like today, like it's marginally stiffer in my van than factory ride quality.
Dude, I drove over an expansion joint and I thought the car was gonna fall apart.
Oh,
It was
my dashboard made some really weird noises. It started like making this like weird squeaking noise.
Bro.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, what? Are both of our cars survived? So
Yeah, shockingly. But no, it went from
shocking.
but no, it went from like stock ride quality to like racelands.
Yeah.
Just the stiffest like quartz rod with the spring around it.
That's maybe a little fancy for Racelands, but I
Yeah.
think I understand the sentiment.
Yeah, so that God, why do people think that their cars don't require. That's so stupid.
I'm so taken aback that people, not everyone, but the vast majority of people were just like, you don't have to do this. Why are you doing this? Like
Maybe you want to.
I'm like, preventative care is a big thing. Plus, like, my diff is leaking. Like, it is low on oil. So, like, I have to do this just to keep the car going.
Yeah.
And, like, I have the highest mileage one in the group worldwide. So,
Yeah.
like, I am telling you that these are things you're going to have to do, probably, at some point.
At some point. Well, not only that, it's like you want to do this. Like,
Right.
it is fun to work on a car. That's why we like the hobby.
One of the comments was, "Oh my God, I'm so glad I lease." In that thread, I'm like, what? A lease won't allow you to get even halfway to this kind of mileage where you're gonna want to do this. B, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. Like, what the heck? Like,
If you lease a car, you still have to do oil
What?
changing.
One second.
Yeah.
If you lease a car, why are you in an owner's group?
Right?
You don't own it.
A lessee group? Oh,
Yeah,
should have
like-
come back with that.
Yeah, like this is an owner's group, not a lessee group. Like,
Leave.
yeah, no, it's like renting a house and being proud of being a homeowner.
Right?
Like,
That's
you're not a
something
homeowner.
piss jokes would do.
God damn it. Wait,
That is exactly what he would do.
yeah,
Right?
well, he did go to electric car beats with a plug-in hybrid.
I do like that he does that and he works at Tesla, but he can't afford one.
That's hilarious. And he like waxes poetic about a car he'll never own.
Pretty much. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. I mean, most people don't really have an ear into like a bunch of EV owners groups, and it's just like it's a bummer because they are the future of enthusiast vehicles for now, anyway.
well, no, they are, but it's
But just right now, the demographic and the
What do you think-
landscape is so bad.
what do you think a Honda owners group is like in 1973?
Oh God.
It's probably the same group of nerds.
Yeah, probably.
So yeah, no, it'll take a little bit of time, and then EVs will be like the new hot thing.
It will continue to get better, but
Yes,
I
it
just thought
will.
that was worth mentioning.
It's so
because
frustrating
I was
after
so just again taken aback that people were like, "Why would you do that?"
They're just like flummoxed.
Yeah,
That's so stupid.
lifetime fluid.
Anyway, speaking of people that are not car enthusiasts and frequent dealerships, Jalotnik had like a nightmare of a story.
Oh God. Well, lay it
this-
on me.
This guy took his Mustang to this New Jersey Ford dealership.
Okay.
His name is Sahil Sood. It was New Jersey. They have the name further down in it of the dealership. I can't remember. But so Mr. Sood, Stevens Jersey City Ford. That's what it was.
In Jersey City, New Jersey.
Yes.
Okay. I
Jerseys.
know that one.
And he was actually wearing a jersey while he was there.
Nice. For
Oh,
whom?
I don't know, for the
The
Jersey.
New Jersey jerseys.
Yeah, the New Jersey jerseys.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, he takes his car in to get an alignment.
Okay.
Which is just like, again, something that you do if you want to be sure, because he just wants to make sure that nothing's going, poorly. But he had a dashboard camera in his car, and so an alignment takes maybe an hour at
Yep.
most. He was there from about 1 o'clock till 5 o'clock. Yeah.
That is more than the allotted time, book
That's like-
time.
yeah, exactly.
Or reasonable, plausible time.
Well, then he gets the car back. He smells his clutch in his car. Like, you can smell it in the interior.
Great.
And so he watches the dash cam footage, and it's about 3 hours of the technician just joyriding the car around town, going like 75 miles an hour, like a 20-mile-an-hour zone, and it's like flying through like traffic and like going over potholes like Mach 5, and like slamming on the brakes, and like at one point he taught somebody how to drive a manual transmission so they could drive the car in that car, and like had like 3 people in the car, and like another technician was in the car, and it was an absolute nightmare.
Yikes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm reading some of the transcripts. Yeah, and this
Yeah.
person doesn't sound terribly eloquent.
No, not at all.
This shit be burning out, babe.
Yeah,
They got the wrong one test driving this car. I'm hitting this shit.
yeah. Really, just absolutely just a level of stupidity found only in the states of New Jersey and Florida.
I really hope the owner of this car gets a substantial settlement.
Well, if we scroll down to the bottom, all the way down to the bottom.
Okay.
Right, stop, back up, back up.
Oh.
So this is what he emailed the service advisor or the service manager.
Okay.
He requested you know, he was like obviously rather put out before he was about to post on social media, but he decided not to. He decided to talk to the service manager first. And what he asked for was a full refund of services performed at the dealership on that date, reimbursement of the diagnostic fees performed by another Ford dealer following the incident, clutch replacement and all components, and fluids to be replaced as stated in the owner's service manual, brake pads and rotors, full replacement of all 4 aftermarket tires. No
All seasons.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still better than
What
the
a
factory.
weeb.
It's better than the factory garbage app on there.
Maybe.
With the TPMS install, labor costs associated with the replacement of all above, and reimbursement for his paid time off of work.
Sure.
I get that this guy's pissed off. Also, I really want to talk about how like eloquently he wrote this.
Yeah.
Like that's like
His
legally.
ass madness doesn't show.
Yeah, no, like he actually like that's like lawyer level of thoroughness.
Almost. It doesn't have parenthesis quotation.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's
Things like that,
it covers the same bases though.
Yeah. No, simpler is usually better, and this is pretty good. And he keeps it to 1 page, so props.
Yeah, he did a really awesome job. And yeah, so like I get that he's mad. He's asking for stuff that's a little on the high side. You know, the tires and the brakes, the clutch, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the Ford dealership came back with, nope, we're not doing that. We'll refund you the alignment, we'll refund you the diagnostic fee, and we fired the guy that did it. We've done our part.
That's not enough.
And the service manager said, I'm not going to be held hostage and blackmailed by social media.
Bro.
So this,
That's not blackmail. That's just doing the right thing because
Yeah.
somebody abused the hell out of your car.
yeah, like this is like a ridiculous amount of like just lack professionalism on the part of the dealer.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty bad.
I get that. I get why he wants this. Like, if this is something like, yeah, I asked him to do an alignment. It took him 5 hours, and the car was misaligned. Yeah, refund the alignment and reprimand the technician. Like that's one thing. But if you have like video footage of this technician going around and like basically just beating the ever living crap, like in a way that would void the factory warranty of this car. That's definitely something that you should be covering. Like, you should be doing everything in your power to keep this customer happy. If I had a
Yeah.
technician at work that did this,
Yeah, but this is a Ford dealer. I mean, the demographic of technician and the clientele is a lot different, and management.
well, no, that's the thing is, regardless of what the demographic of technician
I agree,
is,
they should be doing
there's a level of professionalism that you have to, because, you know,
Right.
the thing is, if you go to a Ferrari dealership and if you go to a, Mitsubishi dealership, you should have the same quality work being done.
Right.
Like, that fits factory.
That bolt that you loosened, it should be tightened correctly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same quality of work. This, however, is obviously not happening, and this is obviously at least from what we can tell here, the service advisor, or I guess service manager, to be correct, seems to not care about his customer base. I just think if you have a customer that's asking for unrealistic demands, such as this guy.
Yeah, I mean, his demands are a little unrealistic, but they didn't counter well enough.
No, they didn't. They just said, no, this is what you're getting. Well, this is not a place to take a firm stand. Like, you don't draw your line in the sand with something like this.
Yeah. The first reply should not be like
Nope.
that's what we're offering.
No, you should be actually sitting there, and you should be on the defensive trying to mitigate the situation while keeping
like,
the customer
how about
happy.
we give you like a prorated cost for damage on a tire and brake pad, like
Yeah.
considering an unreasonably high number of miles.
Let's take a look at what's
Right.
going on.
Like you did $10 in damage to each one of your tires.
Okay,
We'll do
yeah.
that. Brakes, same type of deal.
Exactly.
We'll refund the alignment. We'll pay
Well-
for your Uber to and from to pick up the car. Whatever, sure.
Yeah, do that, and then like, given that he did smoke the clutch on the car, like, I'm in favor of him doing the clutch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, comp a clutch job, sure, fine.
Yeah. I mean, that's just something.
Probably
and,
did damage to the flywheel. I don't know.
and that's the thing is the clutch and flywheel. I mean,
That's expensive.
And yeah, you should pay for that other dealership to take a look at it. Like, if like every now and then, just because I know technicians are not perfect people, if in the past when I've been working somewhere and my technician like botched something, like a brake pad didn't seat right and was hitting at a little bit of an angle, it created a squeak. I've had situations where the customer is bad enough that they wanted to take it somewhere else. And what I said to them was, all right, well, how about this? I can't like pay that other dealership. I don't have access to the company credit card
or whatever, yeah.
or anything. However, what I can do, if you want to take your car in and have that taken care of, any repair work that we do, I'll take that price off of it, and for future work, give you a free oil change or two. I'll make sure a different technician works on your car for you. I actually go out of my way to try and help somebody, and that's what you should do. And like, even if you don't agree with what that customer wants, like, it's just basic customer service that you don't draw your line in the sand.
Especially because it's not costing the dealership very much to do it. Yeah, they're out the cost of the clutch kit. They're out the cost of probably a flywheel.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it's labor.
Yeah. No, and
they can eat that pretty easily.
Yeah, and to be honest, who cares if they have to eat it? They should eat it, because that's totally their fault.
Yeah, granted, when you take your car in for a service at a dealership like this, what you sign does explicitly state that they are not responsible for any damage that occurs to your car while it's in their possession. But with the power of social media and a dash cam explicitly showing that somebody's deliberately mistreating your vehicle,
Yes.
that is extenuating circumstances.
Extremely extenuating circumstances. Furthermore, it's the only time I'd ever talk to a customer like that is if it's been an ongoing thing.
Right.
For example, if I had a customer that had like a 2001 Audi A4 with a V6, and like it needed like $5,000 worth of repairs, and we told him that, and he said, I don't care, I want this fixed, I want my transmission fixed. So we put a transmission in it. And then a week later, after that transmission breaks, the timing chain lets go and needs an engine now. Okay, well, the customer refused to use our supplied transmission. We were nice enough to let him use his own parts, and now he's mad at us and trying to get us to warranty stuff. Well, no, that's not going to fly.
That's why most shops don't use customer supplies parts.
Exactly. So
or if they do, no warranty.
If in a situation such as that, then you handle it the way that the dealer handled it. We're saying, this is what we're doing. This is our line in the sand. Like, this is your fault, and this is us being nice. You do that after somebody abuses your kindness. They've not had any kindness abused. This is just a negligent dealership being negligent with garbage customer service.
Yep.
Like, just take your car anywhere else other than Jersey City Ford. Like, that's obviously somewhere you don't want to be taking your car.
Yeah. And granted, his car is probably effectively no different after this, but still, he should be compensated.
No, absolutely. And that's the thing, is it's not a matter of what it breaks.
Right.
Like, if people don't take their Ferraris out to a Ferrari dealership and then hear the car going wide open throttle flying past the front door.
Right. Yeah, this isn't Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
No, it's not.
You can't drive it in reverse, man, to undo your damage. When Cameron was.
But yeah, no, this is a nightmare. Really, I do not wish this upon anybody.
Yeah,
except for piss jugs. But nobody's gonna do that with a Chevy Volt.
Yeah, this isn't fun enough to go joyride.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do hope the alignment gets botched if he ever needs one. So, I want to swing back to the main thing it seems like I talk about on this podcast now, which is electric vehicle stuff. I know, surprising to everyone. Just deal with it. It's fine.
No, I looked at the website.
Oh, electric?
Everything that is stated in this following story is hearsay.
Sure, probably. I Googled Tesla Model Y, and then I grabbed the first link that was recent.
Yeah,
and there you go.
Electric. I don't trust them.
I'm not actually. I didn't read any of their story. I grabbed something
picture?
to support it. Yeah, something like that. So, and it's not even the real picture of the Model Y. Somebody did a rendering on it, and you're never gonna believe this, but it looks just as ugly as the Model X, but just smaller, because they base it the same way they base the Model X on the S. They're gonna base the Y on the 3. So it's gonna sell really well. It's coming for sure in calendar year 2020. Volume production by the end. Deliveries by mid-year. We don't know anything about range, anything about price.
I'm
assuming it's probably going to be about $50,000 to start.
I'm gonna say it's probably somewhere along the lines of the 3.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's going to be same size batteries as whatever's offered in the 3 at that point, which is probably going to be something like a 75 to 80 watt kilowatt hour as a base, and then a 90 or 100 as a peak. You're going to have dual motor and single motor options. It's going to be a CUV. Probably won't have Falcon doors, thank God. And that's that. So, but it's officially announced now. This is something that's been in the rumor mill for a long time with Tesla.
Elon Musk has quite the penchant for the name Falcon.
He does. I mean, I get that with the SpaceX thing. Also, can we just comment on how many of this same image is on Electrek's site?
Yeah. That's a terrible, terrible blog.
I should have picked a better link.
No, this is the worst link you could have possibly
Well,
chosen.
it was the firstest link that I could have possibly chosen, too.
They're about as factual as the National Enquirer.
I don't know the words you're saying, but
The
anyway,
National-
Model Y is announced.
The National
We don't know
Enquirer-
anything about it.
The National Enquirer is like a tabloid.
It's a CUV. It's going to look pretty boring, but it's going to be a pretty good driving car, I'm guessing, since it's based on Model 3. So there's that. It's coming in about a year, finally. There you go. There are better CUV EVs to buy before then for the same money, so don't buy one of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep. I suppose I probably should have actually turned on the screen grab there. There's the article we were just
I
talking
don't even
about.
care. Oh my God, get Electric out of here. They suck.
Yeah, you'll survive.
Let's go. What are we looking at now?
Let's talk about the 3 Series.
Yes. No, I chose a Patreon.
You did.
I found it kind of cool, and that was buried in there.
There's some good stuff in there. Just a lot of them are going to take a lot of time. So
that's exactly
one's
what this
an easier
one.
one to split. Yeah.
That's what they are. It's you go through the generations of cars and
Yep.
kind of talk about them. And I decided just go the BMW 3 Series.
This means I'm going to have to pick the Honda Civic next.
No, I'll take care of the Honda Civic. Don't worry. I got that handled. But no, I wanted you to talk about the 3. I just wanted to introduce it. But
Well, that's fine. I can do that.
yeah, so kind of tell us like what the differences are in the 3. I think you know.
Do you want me to start with the E21 3 Series, or do you want me to start with the 2002, which was the original 3 Series?
Well,
before
no,
they called
not really the original 3 Series.
Well, okay.
There is
yeah,
the
they
B-
had
there
the
was the
19
328.
Fine. We're going to start with the actual modern 3
I
Series.
want to
then.
talk about the 328.
Nope, we won't be doing that.
Why
So
don't we talk about
fine,
the 328?
fine, Ryan.
So the BMW 3 Series started as the BMW 328 in the late 1930s. It was developed as a roadster that was actually eventually reused into early BMW roadsters in the 1950s. It was largely different, but the same design, roughly. The idea, the two-door convertible with frontage and rear-wheel drive was used. Car is actually fairly successful in its classes and rally racing. However, it did not have much of a lineage after World War II.
Good.
It was very much so a footnote. Now, I wanted to mention that because that's also the most expensive 3 Series you can get if you buy it at auction.
Right now.
Yes, they go for over $1 million.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean, you think of 3 Series, you don't think of
Nope.
this shape.
But I wanted to show it. I wanted to tell you about that. So, moving on.
Okay. Is that the only 3 Series you want to talk about? The pre-war 3 Series?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I kind of like the E21, but I think you probably know more about that.
Well, since you brought up something that predated the E21 3 Series, which is where most people acknowledge that the 3 Series began. Nice, by the way.
I captured 2 ants underneath my beer.
We'll start with the E10. So the 1600 and the 2002, everyone knows them all as 2002s. That was the beginning of the 3 Series. It's the form factor, it's the fun to drive, it's the cheap, it's the practical, it's the good looking.
Can I talk about the 2002, my one gripe with it?
Sure.
When I tell people that one of my favorite BMWs is the BMW 2002, they
Mm-hmm.
say, oh, I've got a 2002 BMW as well. I've
Yeah.
got a 318i or whatever. And
That's
I'm like,
my
I
gripe
don't
as well,
care.
shopping for parts. You go to eBay and you type in BMW 2002
And it's
engine.
all E46
Every
stuff.
single one of them is going to be a 2002 E46 BMW 325 part. So what you have to do is type in either E10,
Okay,
which is the
that's
chassis
fine.
code, or you type in both 1600 2002.
Yes,
That helps a lot.
that's.
But anyway,
clever.
this car, it was like when the Datsun 120 came to the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, it was such a change.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this thing was reliable, it was fast, it was cheap, it was really good looking. It bludgeoned everything that was a domestic offering at the time, including pretty much everything that was also being imported from other parts of the world.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you kind of have to think about it, at this point in time that really this car was kind of a trio of like sports sedans that came out in the 60s. You had
Right.
the 2002, you had the Giulia sedan, and then you had the Datsun
Yep.
510
Yep.
altogether.
And I mean, yeah, this predated the Datsun a bit. I mean, this came out in 1967 for us. So I think the 510 came a bit after that.
They had the 411, which was like a weird in between. Like, it was still a sporty sedan, but is vastly overshadowed. The 411, the Datsun, it looked a lot like a 510. But if you
So the 411 is the E21 and the
I was
510
gonna say
is the E30?
yeah.
Okay.
The 411 is definitely the E21.
Okay,
Yeah.
I gotcha. That makes perfect sense. But anyway, yeah, at the time, all the imports were just mopping, dusting, cleaning, and rewriting the rules.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what it was. And that car, the BMW anyway, and the E10 chassis, that stayed on for,
Well, I think
wow, almost 10 years, 9 years.
I think what we should actually mention is that in this era, this is still pre-emissions era, so you still have big muscle cars and everything.
Right.
What it kind of reminds me of is performance EVs today,
Okay.
where it's really going under the radar. People aren't really talking about it that much, but like the writing is really on the wall that this is where things are going. And with Datsun and BMW and these early sports sedans, like you had BMW that was just dominating a lot of touring car around the world.
Right.
Datsun was hot on their coattails as well, and arguably,
Oh, yeah.
in America at least in 1972, Datsun did beat BMW quite badly.
And they still do today
Yeah,
in
they-
a lot of vintage racing. I mean,
yeah.
510s are fast cars.
They are very good cars, but
The O2s are like 140 horsepower, but they're also like less than 2,000 pounds.
the other thing that a lot of people don't talk about, these cars are also moving into muscle car territory. So Datsun, at least, not to take over this as Datsun stuff, but at least this is something I
We'll get
know
there.
about. Datsun 510s were being used for drag racing, and they were with factory performance and stuff. They were getting pretty quick. Like you could get a stock 1.6 liter Datsun 510.
Yeah.
And with factory upgrades, you can get it about as fast as a Hemi Cuda was factory.
Yep.
And
It's all
that's
about power to weight. I mean, those old Mopar muscles and things like that, they weren't light.
No, they weren't, and
And they didn't hook up for beans either.
yeah, their drive lines are just garbage. But no, these Elias Datsuns, they did really, it was the first time you ever really saw that. Like, yeah, BMW or like Volkswagens, you'd see like a Porsche engine and a Beetle, or like a really
Right.
hotted up like supercharged Beetle that would run like 10-second quarter miles, and you have to rebuild the engine every 2 days. But like these are kind of doing it semi-reliably, and BMW, of course, was doing a touring car in a huge way more than most other brands were.
Right. Yeah, I mean, motorsport's been a focus of theirs since, the early 60s. So
Yeah.
even potentially a little bit before that, but motorsport was really in its infancy at the time. So the 2002 did a great job in motorsport. I mean, it's still raced every weekend in the world these days, and it's still very competitive. So are the 510s.
Yeah, no, I mean that's one of those things where I'm often having to like write about the 510 in like a very pro 510 manner. In all reality, the BMW 2002 and the 510 were very very close as rivals.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's interesting racing to watch.
Yeah, they're very good cars. I can't say that. I would say that they're equals.
Yeah, I really like them
'Cause-
both. I see them in the same events all the time, and I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah, and I can't really say like, I can't say with 100% honesty that a 2002 is worse than a 510.
I think the 510 looks more modern, too.
Well, I don't care about modern looks.
Oh.
Because I actually like the 411 more than the 510. I love the looks of the 411. But I mean, did the 2002 have independent rear suspension?
Yeah, it had semi-trailing arm, independent rear suspension.
Okay, so yeah, same thing with the 510.
And it had A-arm McPherson strut in the front.
Same thing with the 510. Yeah, I mean, they're literally the same car.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of the parts would like fit between them probably.
Probably.
I'm,
At least
I'm
carburetors.
guessing the Datsun probably, yeah, definitely carbs. I'm guessing the Datsun probably had a stronger differential. It might have had a 5-speed gearbox.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Was the BMW a 4?
4-speed.
Okay, so that's probably why the Datsuns actually do beat them a lot in races, the extra gear.
Yeah, so and a lot of that's just parts been parts coming through the years in the 2002. Obviously, a lot of the cars racing these days in vintage racing are E21 5-speeds with the beefier diffs.
Yeah.
So that helps a lot. But at the time, I'm sure the the drivers of the BMWs had to be that bit better to edge out the 510s. So
And I think that's another thing is, you have a car that the BMW was a very well balanced car with a better driver.
And it was lighter.
It was lighter. But the 510 had the beefy parts from the start.
Yep.
Because they did a very lazy job making that car. Because most of the parts from a 240 will just kind of bolt into it. Like,
weird.
the only thing that'd be it's a little funky is putting the inline six into it. So they just lobbed off 2 cylinders. I mean, they're very, very, very close cars. I think that's why the Datsuns, at least in era, outperformed the BMW was because they had that factory. Like, they already had the beefy parts available.
Right. I mean, the engine wasn't quite as potent or quite as beefy, but everything else in the driveline was, and that made a big difference, especially getting that ester ratio, because it lets you take advantage of the power band that's there on the engine.
It's kind of like the 190E Cosworth versus E30 M3 racing. Like, they're...
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, like, the is really kind of track-based, and the E30 just happened to be a little bit better on those tracks.
The E30 won because of its engine.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, if you put those 2 cars together, you can't say that one's objectively worse.
I just want them both.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about the 510 and the 2002. I want them both.
I know.
So, yeah.
So anyway, let's move on to a car that people don't want, and that is the E21 3 Series, which came in 1977.
This is one where I just don't understand why people don't want it.
I don't really get it
it's
either.
A good car.
It is, but the reason why it's not popular is because it was bookended by the
Yep.
E10 and the E30, which are both better cars.
It's true, yeah.
But the E21 is like the E36. It's a fantastic, holy crap, parts bin car for its prior generation brethren. So, like, an E21's best honor is to be parted out and put into an E10 to make it better. So you get the 5-speed, the beefier engine, the better diff, better suspension.
It's a 280 ZX.
Yeah, essentially. And then the E36 is the same thing for an E30. You take out the steering rack, you take out the engine, transmission, throw it all in the E30, and it's a better car. So it has its upsides and downsides. But the E21 had a lot of modern features. I mean, this was... It didn't have any real suspension changes from the 2002. So people are like, well, you're putting a heavier car on the same suspension. It's like, why? But this was also in the peak of emissions and fuel crisis. So they were putting really underpowered engines in it.
If you are looking for a car new in the years 1978, you're gonna have a hell of a time trying to find something better than an E21 3 Series.
I would go W123, but yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Is like, again, is that objectively better?
No, because it was all automatic.
Exactly. And I know the Datsuns were plug ugly in this era.
Man, I'm trying. What was the best car you could, like, what would you buy if you were shopping for a new car in 1978? This is going to be a part of the tangent here, but...
Well, all right, so I guess within this price range?
No, just anything.
In
I
general?
mean, like, try to avoid supercars. Like, no Lamborghinis, but...
Avoiding supercars... 1978. I have to buy a car. Am I aware of the future?
No.
Buy a Fox Body Mustang.
They had Fox Body Mustangs in 78?
78 was the first year of the Fox Body, yeah. I would say that or... No. Celica. Because I think that was the first year that they redesigned the Celica.
I think I would get something Japanese.
Yeah, I'd probably get the Celica. Because that was the first year that they redesigned it and they had that cool, like, boxy shape that was around for, like... It was the one... It was the...
what year did the 2000 GT come out?
That's like the 60s. Yeah, that was super old.
I don't know.
Plus, that was a supercar. It was $100,000. So
fine.
Yeah, it's like
I just want one of those. I want a reason to, like, hypothetically buy a 2000 GT.
It is such an expensive car.
I would try to find, like, a dealer's second 2002 1976 maybe. I don't know.
I would probably say, like, it'd probably be a Celica.
Ooh, I got this. A W116 450 SEL 6.9.
Was that new? That would be very cool.
Yep. I think that was the first year of that 6.9 S-Class.
That would probably be the coolest car that you could get.
It wasn't efficient at all.
I'm confident. But,
shocking, right, with the 6.9
I know,
engine?
Right? But I would say, 928.
No, too unreliable, especially the early ones.
And it's a supercar.
I'm not calling that supercar.
Performance.
Maybe a 911. That would be a decent option.
Supercar. If you're not going to call it a 928. a supercar, then 911 definitely.
Anyway, so yeah, the E21. I mean,
E21, the E21 would be up there.
E21 had a much better interior. It was much more hospitable. It looked much more modern.
I would put it in the top 5.
Yeah. Oh,
that you
okay.
could get.
I was
It's
just
in the top
general
5, yeah.
E21 factoids.
Well, I mean, just like about like for Malaise cars, it's in the top 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, E21s were catalyst cars, like early catalyst cars. I mean, they weren't as
Really?
powerful, way slower. Yep. So, in the United States, obviously, we never got the 6-cylinder here because of the fuel crisis thing, but it gave you a lot of flexibility for like bigger brake modifications and things like that. I mean, they were nice cars. They were. They just didn't drive as well as a 2002 because it had the same stuff with more weight.
This is also the first generation that is objectively better than its Datsun competitor.
I don't know what Datsun was making in 1978.
They were making the B210 and still in America, they called it the 510, even though it was not a 510. But the B210 was definitely closer to the 510.
Okay.
Those have quite an extensive racing pedigree, but they were not anywhere near on par with the E21. It's just not, you can't compare them because like the E21, on top of having like the ability to be, I mean, how is the racing pedigree for the E21?
Almost none, just because of the the time
Really?
in which it was
Okay.
introduced. I mean, there just
So yeah,
wasn't much
I guess the
racing.
Datsun was actually like, it was raced a lot. Like there was a lot of racing that was happening there. Like,
Well, we never got the 6-cylinder E21 here.
so that's probably why.
Yeah.
BMW kind of backed off of it for then. I would say as a car, though, I do like the E21 more than the B210. Because the B210 to be like in factory condition is just an awful, awful vehicle. It's just
And
not.
coming from you, that means it's
I-
awful.
If you should probably just throw one up on the screen so people can see.
A Datsun B210?
Yeah, like type in like 1978 Datsun B210, and we can compare and contrast the two. Because it's one of those cars where I've
So
often
did the B210 have like anything cool going for it technologically or no?
yeah, kind of.
Oh man. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
see what I mean?
The
Like
E21 head and shoulders. The E21 looked like a modern BMW at least.
that rear end looks terrible.
It looks like an Austin Princess that like made sweet love to the wrong kind of.
if you
Datsun.
take the worst parts of like a Renault 14, like a Dacia 1300, for those of you, the car from PUBG, the Dacia from PUBG,
Dacia.
and you combine that with like the worst parts of like any other car on earth, you just put those together, is just the worst thing.
So
As opposed to that, which is an objectively pretty car.
I mean, it does look pretty good, yeah.
That's a really, really good looking car.
So there's an E21 BMW 3 Series. And yeah, 1978, that is...
That's really good looking. Like, I get why people would buy those.
Do those wheels look familiar?
Yeah. And actually,
Oh, jeez. Oh,
another thing.
I
What?
went back to the Datsun.
Yeah. Well, all right. So let's just look at this Datsun for a second, because while you have the E21 that actually looks really awesome, has like really pretty designs, that the roof and everything, that Datsun just falls apart.
The Datsun looks so 70s, and the E21 looks so 80s.
You know, I think another way to describe it is that E21 is everything that's right with the 70s, and that Datsun's everything that's wrong with the 70s.
Yeah, yes, that's, yep.
Because this is like the worst era for Datsun by far.
This is the worst era for pretty much everything.
Yeah.
The
I mean,
70s didn't have a lot of great stuff going on in it.
it was I think the 70s were the era that really put Datsun on the road to Carlos Ghosn coming in. Because,
That's maybe a bit of a stretch, but
well,
okay.
no, all right. So this is what I'm thinking. 'Cause the E21, that was the first or I guess it's the second really good selling BMW.
These didn't sell very well.
Well, I mean, for the era compared to Datsun. Trust me.
Compared to Datsun, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this car put BMW in a lot of financial trouble.
While this car was very pretty, and this car, well, actually, people that don't know about a car, they'll look at it and say, that's a good-looking car when it's driving down the road. Mm-hmm. People will look at the Datsun and go, Jesus, look at that Datsun.
No, look at that 70s hunk of...
Yeah. So that Datsun didn't do Nissan any favors. This did BMW favors in the long run.
Yeah.
And that's where kind of that
Well, it
split
gave them a
comes
lot of
from.
technology, a lot of visual cues.
Exactly. while BMW used this time to actually make things better, Datsun had to like totally ground up redesign more than once.
Weird. I wonder why.
Which is, I believe it or not, more expensive. Oh, and while they're doing the ground up redesigns, they still have to keep the parts in production for those for another 10 years.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so that really hurt Datsun. While the E21 actually, it used a lot of recycled parts from the 2002. It modernized the 2002.
And it created a lot of stuff for the early E30s.
Exactly.
Like
so
the
this
six-cylinder
is
powertrains, even the engine.
This is a clean transaction, transition. Whereas the Datsun B210 was like, now you have to take a quantum leap.
Yeah.
You have to,
Which, I mean, they did.
you have to ground up redesign everything, and they did. And you know what
Yeah.
happened?
It was good.
It was great, and they went out of business 20 years later, and they had to have like Renault like save them from like certain failure.
And then, voila, Le Avantime was born.
Yeah, and well, that's the thing is, Nissan like that really kind of set them on a transaction or like on footing that caused them to stumble, while the E21 really lined up BMW to just take off the way that they did with the E30
Right.
and with the E30.
And
Let's talk about
I mean,
that.
they did, yeah. So they took a lot of visual cues from the E21. They took both powertrains. So they took the 2-liter 4-cylinder M10, and they took the 2.3-liter inline-6 M20, which was one of 2 timing belt engines that BMW ever made for some reason. I have no idea. But they took every other component that mattered from a 5 and a 7 series. So the differentials got really beefy. The transmissions got
On the E30?
yeah.
Really?
So, like, all the transmissions were straight out of the 5 series. The differential, straight out of a 5 series. So, I mean, all they did was they take a really, really well-made, proven formula from the E20, the E23 7 series, the E24 6 series, the E28 5 series, and the E12 5 series. And they didn't miniaturize it, they just made it fit. So they redesigned the semi-trailing arm rear suspension to what we have all the way through that M Coupe that we just saw. It's the same suspension as the
Really?
E30. Same suspension. And that was the
can't-
basis for the E36 and the E46 with very little change.
I can't tell you how many times Datsun had to change stuff around. Like,
The E30, they just got it right.
yeah, like in the 80s, like they changed around stuff so much.
Rolling changes are usually good, but it's usually to fix quality or performance issues.
But what Datsun had to do by comparison was they had to redesign. Luckily, they finally got it took them until the end of the 80s when they made the S13 to get things right.
Right.
And then luckily
Yeah,
when they made by the time they made the S13, that's like the waning days of the E30.
I like that we're getting Datsun out of the way at the same time as we're getting the the 3 Series generations out of the way. There's just as much data about that.
Well, the whole Datsun
it's a solid
thing
comparison, though.
It's a solid comparison, but the thing is that the 3 Series consistently was a sports sedan.
Right.
Right now I'm talking about sports coupe because Datsun didn't have something that held up to the 510. And they started switching things around a ton. And eventually we got into the Sentra as their...
That's a front-wheel drive car, though.
Not only is it front-wheel drive, the Sentra has had precisely one standout generation ever.
And is that the one that's still in production in South Africa or whatever?
In
South America?
Mexico, they just discontinued. Yeah, the B13.
Yeah.
They had one standout generation. Everything else has been
Pretty terrible.
yeah, I really like the B12 Sentra, but I like it not for performance. I think it's just a very pretty car. They did a really cool job designing it.
What year range?
Like
Is
the
this
80,
the 92?
85,
the one
86
before that?
ones.
Okay.
It's like
All
a boxier version.
I was going to say, the one I'm thinking of is 92 to something?
Yeah, it looks just like those, it's boxier.
Okay.
I think it's a very pretty design, but it wasn't a good car. As far as performance goes, it doesn't hold up.
And that was happening alongside the E30.
Yeah, so that's why now the only competitor that Nissan has to E30 would be the 240. As far as rear-wheel drive, affordable, you can still live with it. And now, now it's a sports car. Well, Mom's not gonna buy a sports car,
She's gonna buy a sports sedan.
and she's gonna go over to BMW.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, and this is along the time when the E30 came out. The first couple of years in Europe, anyway, they had Bosch KE jet.
Yeah, K-Jetronic.
KE, so it was electronic.
Yeah.
The early first-gen system. So it was the high impedance, really, really garbage EFI, but it was still reliable. And then the year after that, they got the Motronic system, which is what ran all the way through 1995 in all German cars, with obviously different variants. So, I mean, these E30s not only were built with parts that were just ridiculously oversized and made them incredibly durable, they were really capacious, they were really fuel efficient, they were incredibly reliable because of this modern fuel injection system. The styling was incredible when it launched in 1983.
It was an absolutely beautiful car.
Beautiful car. Offered in 2-door, 4-door, later convertible. Offered the first ever in the U.S.
Yeah.
First ever all-wheel drive system in a car.
Yep.
Production car.
They also had the wagon version, and they have that whole weird Bauer.
The Bauer, but the Bauer was a retrofit, so they would ship a factory coupe to Bauer TC.
So the actual convertible was made by BMW?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. So it started in 1987, so that happened a bit later, but it was BMW. It wasn't like an ATS conversion or anything like that. It is a standalone car. It's got almost a completely different floor pan. It's got different door jams. It's got a different engine bay.
Vehicle, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff transfers over, which is kind of nice. But the Vert, it's had a lot of changes done to it.
And I
it's
actually
not a popular car, but I like them.
I really like the convertible.
Me too. My first two E30s were convertibles. And
yeah, and what I like is also like that they're a little bit cheaper.
They're a lot cheaper.
Well, I mean, I shouldn't say a lot cheaper. A lot cheaper compared to like a E30, like M3.
No, like even just a 325, like an 87 325i versus an 87 325iC, that's like a third the price for a convertible.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
so
it's way cheaper.
I mean, that's honestly the way to go. Because
I agree.
You've said that the convertible drives about on par with the iX as far as
it's faster than an iX. It rides more solidly in a way.
To be honest, the iX that I've driven, I like that a lot. I like the iX.
Well, I mean,
like
it's not that they're bad cars.
No.
It's just that the regular rear-wheel drive hardtop E30 exists.
Yeah. No, it's relatively speaking not a good car.
Right.
But
no,
it's still a
the
good
Verts,
car.
I still have a soft spot for those. If I ever found like a really clean, like Calypso red or green late model plastic bumper E30 convertible, I would buy it.
Yeah. The only way to buy the convertible is with the plastic bumpers, big taillights.
Which they got like 3 years after the rest of the E30s too.
So they did the big taillights on the convertible, right?
They did.
Okay, as I say.
1991 to 1993, where everything else got an 88 and 89.
Yeah, because the 91 and 93, I wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy where I said this, but I think that the big taillight, plastic bumper, convertible, I think that might be, outside of the M3, the best looking E30 you can get.
Maybe. I really like the wagon. But
the wagon's also a beautiful car. I think we should also talk about
the plastic bumper Verts are really something to behold.
Yeah, they're
very well proportioned. It's very dignified,
gorgeous.
dignified looking car. So, yeah, the E30, BMW was in a lot of financial straits when that car came out. They spent their entire bankroll on that car in its development, and it paid off.
It did.
And it set them up for the E36, which is the first ever CAD car. I just don't like the styling. I don't know if I ever will, but
going back to the E30 wagon, though,
I
do want to talk about that because they did something with that wagon that used to be very common, but nobody does these days. All they did was extend the roof, and it looks perfect.
Yeah, I know.
I think
it's what you can do in MS Paint these days.
Yeah, like I really think that looks perfect. It's like one of my favorite designs, like of all time for like a car, is the CB7 Accord Coupe, because it takes what the CB7 Accord sedan does. They change almost nothing, and they make it a 2-door, and it just makes everything flow perfectly. I think that it's the same thing where it's just the most minor of change to the car, and I think that it's really one of the best looking wagons of all time. I'd put that up there with like that AMG SEL.
W123 wagon that they
Yeah,
had?
the AMG SEL wagon that they made. Or no, it wasn't AMG. I think it was ABC exclusive that did that.
They made a few factory
Yeah.
126 wagons.
I'd say a 126 wagon was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
This and
They made a 7 Series wagon prototype in the mid 80s too.
that'd be very cool.
It's really neat.
And then the Cressida wagon, like
I haven't seen that.
the MX-73 Cressida wagon is a very cool car. It had
Just full size cars made into wagons.
had dual rear
incredible.
wipers.
Oh,
it was very
yeah,
cool.
like the Camry.
Yeah, like that's where the Camry got it from, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I suppose same company. Yep, that makes sense.
But yeah, it's
And the FJ's triple
for-
windshield wipers.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But no, for me to put something on par with a MX-73 wagon, that takes a lot. 'Cause that's a very cool wagon. Because like that is it. They make a wagon and they like totally redesign it. Like, I don't want that. I want just a car that looks like a sedan with some extra roof on the
Right,
end.
just
Like,
make it a long roof one.
Yeah, that's what I want. Like my Subaru, I love the design of that. I just love it, just like a flowing long roof that goes on for days.
I just
That's
used the
great.
clone stamp tool on Photoshop. And
Yeah,
just,
just
now we're done.
exactly.
Finished. New car. Done.
Now let's go on to the
E36.
E36 because this one I think we.
So there's some handoff in the years. So the E30 technically ended in 93 with the convertible. E36 technically started in 1991 with the sedan. The coupe came to us in 1992. The convertible came to us in 1995.
Famously, this is the car used in the movie Logjammin'.
And The Chase,
Yes.
which
Do-
was a
do-
terrible movie.
You remember in the Big Lebowski, the
Boom,
porno,
boom,
that
boom,
bunny.
boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. It was brand new at the time.
Yeah, that was
95
very cool.
318i Vert. Yep. So, yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, the E36 was like super cool. Yeah, right.
Actually,
I never
wait,
knew
wait,
about the
that-
E30.
That car, when did they start doing the E36 convertible?
I just told you like twice. It's 1995.
All right, so the Big Lebowski
Yeah.
took place in 1991.
Really?
Yeah, they say that in the movie
Oh.
because
Yeah,
they're
they
invading.
messed up then.
They're invading Iraq.
Oh,
and it's-
right. Oh, yeah.
And Jeffrey Lebowski writes the date on his check, and the year is 1991.
So, yeah, that's a huge.
That's a huge. Unless this is a porno from the future.
Which we're going to
Actually-
assume it is.
That's something Jackie Treehorn would actually do because he was investing in porno technology. So yeah, that would make sense. This is from the future.
E36 coupes would have existed potentially in 1991, but
Yeah.
not
Not-
the convertibles.
Yep.
And the 318i was not a thing until 1993.
I did not know that.
And yeah, I guess the compact also came out in 1994.
The TI.
The TI, yep.
You know, the TI actually I like.
And then the Z3 is technically an E36. That came out in 96.
Everybody knows that's the best E36.
It is the best E36.
I think the only E36 outside of a Z3 that I would ever have any remote interest in would be a TI.
The TIs are fascinating because they're cars we got in the U.S., but they were like, you get in that thing and like the interior is all different. It's like completely Euro. It's got Euro like cloth 90s pattern seats in
Yeah,
it.
like it's
the
really
dash
cool.
is set up in a much more utilitarian way. Like other than the gauge cluster and the steering wheel, nothing else in there is shared with another E36.
So I remember way back in the day, like when I first used the internet,
Oh no.
I'd go on the BMW's website. and
That's
I
what
would-
you did when you first used the internet?
Yeah, I went on GIJoe.com, HotWheels.com, and BMW.com.
All right, you used it differently than I did.
Well, I was also like 6 years old.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. So like, I go on the BMW's website and I configure a car. I configure like the coolest like 318 Ti. It was like my favorite BMW. I remember I was able to get one up to like $36,000
Oh,
once.
man.
Like just every option in the world.
Yeah, I want tire totes. Yeah, I want this jacket. Yeah,
Exactly.
give me those aftermarket wheels.
I'm not gonna use them. Give me all of the wheels.
Oh, man.
Yeah, then I got really bummed out when they discontinued it, and then we'll talk about
It had a pretty good run. Like
yeah, it was
4
like-
years.
And then they made that horrible E46.
We didn't get that.
I know we didn't, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, so E36 compact, interesting. That's an E36-6. The Z3 drop top is an E36-7.
Also,
And
the first
roads or the coupe is
that's
-8.
the first German Bond car.
Was the Z3 the first German Bond car?
Yes. Previously, it had been all Aston Martin, Lotus, and then technically a Citroen.
Yeah, so that baby blue Z3 1.9
That they did
5-speed.
absolutely nothing with in the movie.
Yeah, they like parked it next to a plane and then drove off once.
They
and
were
then showed us the Stinger missiles behind the headlights, but did nothing with them.
Yeah, they had some budgetary confinements during GoldenEye.
It's such a great movie, though.
I know it really is.
GoldenEye's a fabulous
Well,
film.
that's why they didn't have any like car chase scenes with that car in GoldenEye, but in the next two Bond movies, the
Tomorrow Never
BMWs,
Dies.
yeah,
Although, no, GoldenEye had some good car chases. It was the DB5 and the 355.
yeah, but that was a race, not a chase. That's different.
Fine.
But I mean, and that was still pretty tame though.
I guess.
But no, that's why they didn't like
stop this car.
that's they didn't have like all the special effects and everything was because they were budgetarily confined.
Oops.
Because the Timothy Dalton movies did so terribly.
Oh, well, Pierce Brosnan was the best Bond,
Yes, I agree.
so. We've discussed this.
Yeah, we've had this conversation many a time.
Yeah, E36s, all twin cam engines, so that was not a
Yep.
first. The E3318i near the end was the first to be a 3 Series with a double cam engine.
But this, I think we can say that this is the first whole generation
Yeah.
where they exclusively use twin cam.
In the United States, yeah. The turbo diesel 325 E36 was a single overhead cam, but we didn't get that. Everything else was twin cam, 2.5, well, I guess 1.9 liter, 1.8 liter, 2.5 liter, 3 liter, 3.2. Ran through the entire gamut. Really reliable engines, the M50 series.
Or you could be like Kurt and have a 6-liter.
What?
You know Kurt from MA Performance?
No.
Oh, he's got a. I thought you knew Kurt.
Maybe. I don't
It's
know.
Kurt Thomas. He's like 6'13".
I know the name.
He's like 6'13"
Did he put a small block in
tall. Yes, LS.
it? Yeah, everyone does that. It's fine.
Well, he actually is doing a really cool job with. He's not just like throwing one in and calling it a day. He's actually like it's a built professionally built LS, and then he's actually backing up like a roll cage in it and actually making it like look aesthetically pleasing. So he's doing a
Yeah.
cool job with his.
It's not going to be as cool as a twin turbo flathead that I'm going to put in mine.
Yes, that's what you should build those. Put a
Going
flathead in it.
to. As soon as I find
Now-
a clean E36 M3 sedan.
Can you tell me, speaking of the E36,
Yeah.
why you don't like the E36?
It's not well made.
How so?
The interiors fall apart. Door
Okay.
panels, interior, the cooling systems aren't particularly good because they're all made out of plastic.
Yes.
The E36 was the first ground up complete CAD designed car. So they're harder to service because nobody ever actually worked on them before they put them into production. Everything was based on this like 90s plastic. Everything's ABS. Everywhere they could get away with plastic.
ABS plastic.
Yeah, and I mean, they had a lot of really good technological improvements. Like, it was the first car to ever have an injection molded plastic intake manifold. First one ever to do
That's
that.
pretty cool, actually.
It was one of the first production vehicles in the United States, if not the first, to have individual coil unplug direct ignition. That was in 1991, so really early.
That is
One of the first
super
ones
early
to
for
have variable valve timing in 1992. So I mean, it had a lot of really great technical advancements. The reason I don't like E36s is mainly because of how poorly put together they are in comparison
Yes.
to the bookending models. Again, just like the E21 in the middle of the E10 and the E30. So they're great parts donors. They're wonderful track cars. If you're going to build a track car these days, you're still absurd
E36.
for not getting an E36 M3.
No, and that's the thing is that's what Kurt's building as far as he wants a silly track car, just
right, and it's
cheap.
great.
And
You cannot get a chassis that cheap, that's that competent, that strong, and has cheap LSDs for anywhere near what E36s go
I
for.
think the other thing about the E36 is they made 1 trillion of them,
They did. They were very popular.
extremely popular, and not necessarily collectible. So nobody's gonna get mad at you
There are a few that are collectible in this country, but we got screwed in this country.
because we didn't get like the
We didn't get the real
lightweights.
M3.
Yeah.
All of our M3s got, because of emissions and sulfur and the fuel problems, we got basically tuned up 325 and 328 engines. So stroked out, bored out, better cams, and they made pretty good horsepower.
That's why they feel lazy to me. Because I've driven
Yeah.
the E46 M3.
Yeah.
I've never driven an E30 M3 with a real like SRT
slow.
engine. Yeah, I know they're slow, but I've driven like many other like M3s. I've driven a 190 Cosworth, but I've never. I always felt like that the E36 M3 was kind of lazy.
Yeah, and that's just because of what it is. I mean, our engine was much more reliable just because of what it was based on, but we never got the full fat S50 B32. The first real M engine we got
Okay.
In the newer generations of cars, we got the old ones, obviously, but it was the E46 M3 with that S54 B32. So, yeah, the interior quality was a huge letdown. They weren't galvanized or anything, so they tended to rust pretty
Really?
quickly. Yeah.
Wow, that's shocking.
Yeah, BMW didn't really galvanize until 1996, which isn't really a huge deal. I mean, E30s aren't galvanized; and they don't.
Yeah,
really
but I
rust
mean,
that
like
much.
the E36 just seems to rust like a pig. Like,
Yep.
Even though you look at it, you're like, this shouldn't rust. It does.
That's made out of plastic. How can plastic rust? Well, we've
Well,
engineered
not
the
not
German.
only that, when you look at E30 versus E36,
Yeah.
the E30 is way more complex little grooves where salt can sit, whereas like the E36 is like largely slab-sided and doesn't have that much.
They found a way.
Yeah, really.
Obviously, they rust in different spots. E36s, it's like jack points. It's the spot beneath the trunk latch, bottoms of front fenders, and that's pretty much it. Actually, they're pretty solid other than that.
So they kind of rust out like a Mark III.
They just
Golf.
rust out in areas where they didn't quite engineer the paint thickness correctly, I think.
Oh,
Or
okay.
just like, where you get abrasion from salt and sand and things
Yeah,
like that. So.
they didn't think of that. Yeah.
E36s, technically very impressive. They cut cost, I think, in areas where they shouldn't have, and that's that. The styling is obviously pretty controversial as well.
Yeah, and I think that the E36, most importantly, I think the issue I have with that car is it seems to be not as dramatic as the E30 or the E46 was.
Well, they're all pretty understated cars.
Well, I mean, dramatic as far as like the E30 had the beautiful like circular headlights. The E46 had the really nice rear end on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the E36 is like, if you get like a list of things I like in a car, I should like the E36 more.
Right, yeah.
I just it doesn't do it,
It
for me.
doesn't seem like a cohesive design to me.
No, it doesn't. It feels very very dry.
It just feels kind of low rent to me. I mean, it never feels like an expensive car.
No, it
Whereas
doesn't.
the E46, you get into a base model E46, even like 20 years later, you're like, this is a pretty nice car.
Yeah, I think what the E36 represents, it represents everything people don't like about German cars. A car that's technically advanced, technically performs,
Bad cooling system.
terrible cooling system.
Oh, not to mention all the automatics until like 1997 were a 4-speed French-made GM automatic.
Ugh. But no, they are yeah, no, it's the fact that they're very they're too dry, they're too clinical. They don't feel like they have a soul to them. And that's how I feel about the E46. Is that
I think
it's
the E36 probably has more of a soul when you
or,
drive
I'm
it
I'm
than
sorry. I meant to say E36, not the E46. I actually like the E46.
Me too.
But no, the E36, it feels like it doesn't have a soul, doesn't really do anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
It just is.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It blends in really well.
It's an on-paper car.
It's a great car if you're driving to the Walker Modern Art Museum in Minneapolis.
And it really, that car is... You walk up to anyone on the street and you point at an early E36, like, what year did that come out? They're going to be like, probably 1992.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, that's exactly when
You're
it came
exactly
out.
right.
Like,
And
that's what the world looked like. Like, that car is the Friends TV show when it launched.
I hate the Friends. I hate Friends. Yeah.
But it is. I mean...
It really is. And it's also another thing. I really just don't... I'm not a fan of the 90s as much as I am the 80s, and that car is extremely 90s.
I love the 90s. I don't like the E36.
Yeah, and I think the E36, the other thing is it's 90s, but it's too boxy for the 90s.
Yeah.
It's just, I want, there's like, I've tried really hard to love it. Like, I really have. Like, I've tried to like it because, like, I can afford it. But I just can't. It just doesn't do it for me.
None of the E36s out there that can be purchased for an affordable sum of money are affordable cars.
So let's talk about the E46.
'Kay.
Because the E46 is a much better car.
It is. So, again, a year of overlap. The E36 technically stopped in 1999. E46 technically started in 1998. We got a significantly updated crop of engines. Basically, we got world engines finally. So all of our base cars had full aluminum blocks with iron
Okay.
liners, finally. Everything else before was iron. We got double variable valve timing. Everything else was kind of an evolution on the engine beyond that. We still got really unreliable cooling systems, which is cool. Our M3 that came 2 years after introduction in 2001, full Euro engine, individual throttle bodies, 333 horsepower, limited slip diff, really well done interior that was reliable.
Really, like, the only one that was, like, very good and had a reliable cooling system?
Yeah, because it was all made out of like aluminum and brass. instead of plastic. The late E30s had plastic end tanks on them, but they didn't seem to break.
Not in the same way that these
Right.
like plastic water pumps and things.
And it's just like, back in the day, you would just change things once in a while preventatively, but they wouldn't be broken. Whereas on the E36s and E46s, you have to change them on a schedule, otherwise you end up stranded.
Yeah.
It's just a different way of doing things. The engines are really, really similar design-wise between the 36 and the 46. But yeah, we got much better screwed together interiors, a lot better noise, vibration, and harshness. The aero design was, I mean, it's pretty easy to pinpoint where in time that car came,
Yeah.
but
No,
it's much more handsome.
it really looks properly good.
A lot of standard equipment, a lot
Yeah.
of really high-end features like widescreen GPS and heated seats
That's
and
a car
steering wheel.
you can get a base model,
Mhm.
and you're buying a lot of the BMW badge with the base model. Because that was the
Yeah.
first car that BMW made where BMW is like, hey, we're BMW now. We got money.
Well, the
like-
first couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, nowadays, like, when you hear the name BMW, that was really the beginning of the era where BMW really meant, like, this is an expensive
Right.
luxury car. Because
Yeah,
before,
if you buy a 1999 323i base, like that's still an aspirational vehicle
Yeah.
at the time.
whereas, like, when the E36 dropped, that was still BMW. You could still interchange the names BMW and Honda.
Right.
Like, they were still, you could still say, yeah, I don't know what I want to get. I could either get, a Honda Accord SEI, or I could get a BMW, like,
318i base.
Yeah, like 318i base. Like, I don't know which one I want. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's when BMW was upmarket.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Um,
it was the ultimate driving machine. I mean,
and-
it
yeah.
just drove better than anything else. It was built better than anything else.
It really was. It was when BMW actually lived up to that name too. Because I feel that modern BMWs don't really do it. This is
No.
the last BMW
Because,
that
now, BMW, again, when you can cross-shop. Like, do I get the Kia or do I get the 3 Series?
Yeah, this is the last BMW generation that I really felt anything for. Like, it's like Mr. Wags.
Yeah.
I like it. It's a cool car.
Yeah, but
it
that's
drives
not
very well.
every E90.
No, but I mean that's the thing is like by the time the E90 compared to the E43 or E46, sorry,
Yeah.
the E46 that's one where I'm like I actually kind of want this car.
And the thing is, the
E90, I'm
E46, it's lighter, it drives just as well, and it's much cheaper to maintain than the E90.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is this is the happy medium, the early 2000s for Germany, where cars were really nice but largely reliable.
It was the best balance.
However, this is also the era where the other two manufacturers, Mercedes and Audi, kind of sucked.
Oh, yeah, Mercedes with their water-based paint issues and the Chrysler merger,
Then
and Audi
Audi's
with their
3-liter
least reliable
V6.
crop of engines ever.
Yeah, like just Audi just generally sucking in that era.
Yeah, E46 was an absolute no-brainer at the time.
Yeah, it was untouchable because at that point, like Infiniti hadn't figured itself out. You
Right.
had the IS 300, which was the only car that would really compare to it.
Yeah, it's
Note-
probably a better comp.
Note that I can't say that there are any Nissans or Datsuns. Like,
And the IS300 was a lot more expensive than an E46.
yeah, and this is also when, again, like I said, Nissan and Datsun had nothing that could compete with that.
Well, Nissan came at the tail end of the E46 with the G35.
Well, that's the other thing is like the G35, like yeah, it was good, but I mean, really, like you're
I
gonna
mean, it
compare
had a
those
good
two.
power plant, but yeah, beyond that, it really didn't compete.
No, and plus that I think the E46 has aged much better.
It has.
'Cause
It's still a
V-
handsome car.
It's a handsome car. The engines are better. Oh, the VQ is just everybody is on their high
Yeah,
horse
if you
about
do
that
if you
car
do
for
cooling
10 years.
systems and crankcase ventilation valves on E46s,
You're
and you
good.
buy a manual, that car will run until the end of time.
Yeah, VQ35s will explode. That's just a fact. You will be pulling cylinder heads off of them in time.
Just happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, after the E46, we got the E90, as you briefly mentioned, with Mr. Wags. These cars were Bangle designs, so it's more of a polarizing design. Chris Bangle, he's
Oh,
the
okay.
one that did like the 7 Series and the 6 Series that nobody liked. But I
yeah.
think he did a great job with the E90. I think it's still a really handsome car. But this is where efficient dynamics started to take hold. So We got a lot of really good things, like hydroformed subframes made out of aluminum and things like that. So the
Yeah.
cars are really light on their feet, and the rear-wheel drive ones have really quick steering. But all of them have electric water pumps.
You know,
which
I
are
actually saw
even-
an E90 diesel the other day.
That's either here illegally or it's up from Mexico or down from Canada.
I think it was an
Can't
E90.
be.
It was like, when was the first year we got the 3 Series diesel?
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, 335D. Yeah.
Yeah, 335.
Yeah, we got that in 09.
Yeah, so I saw one of those the other day.
I don't know why.
That
I
was
just
very
my
cool.
brain was like, you saw 320D in the States? What?
Yeah,
No, but yeah, no, 335D is awesome, but no manual.
yeah, that's true.
So someday I'll swap one, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, all of them except for the M3 and the diesel had electric water pumps.
I always felt like there was something in between those two, between the E46 and the E90, but that was another quantum leap.
Oh yeah. It was 05 to 06 was huge.
Yeah, that was huge.
I
I would take the 05 any day over
Yeah,
that.
but then you get the 6-speed transmission and you get much better interior still. Not that the E46 had a bad interior.
Well, that's the thing is, you get that better interior. But there's a point for me in which the interior is too much. You have too much going on.
And honestly, most E90s are too much because a lot of them have that iDrive nav hump, which is just
I
hideous.
don't want that
No.
at all.
So if
No.
I would never recommend anyone buy an E93 series with a nav,
I think, I want the double-din radio at most.
which is what the E46 was. When you
Exactly.
got nav, it moved the climate down and it gave you a double din, so you could always retrofit back too, which was
Yeah.
nice because like my M3 has a nav in it, but like it doesn't really matter because it doesn't ruin the dash to do it.
Yeah, and that's very important for me.
But I mean, the power outputs and the efficiencies and the weight are all really good points of the E90 where they got it right.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a more efficient car, even though it weighs a little bit more, but it's better balanced. It's got better mechanicals. The M3, the first ever M3 with a V8, I mean, that engine is still one of the greats. And it was also one of the most reliable E90 engines because it was port injected.
this is me not caring.
Still has rod
That's-
bearings. It's still a great car, whether you like it or not. But the
No,
E46
I mean,
M3
I
is-
get that. Like, I appreciate it. It's just that was the first M3. It did nothing for me.
Yeah, I get that. And I mean, there's a lot of reasons to not like E90s, and a lot of that is the JB4 335i owners
Yeah, I think so.
because those people are absolutely insufferable.
I think that's a car that really just brings
That's
out
going to be the next E36.
that brings out a lot of the jack-offs in the BMW community and car community. Period. I mean, that car just I cannot stand those people.
But the N54 is arguably the new 2J. So, I
That-
mean,
That's true.
people still haven't broken stock blocks, so we don't
It's
really
a good
know what they
engine,
can
so
take.
there's that.
But yeah, the E90, I mean, it was just a really dignified car, but it had a lot of the modernisms that we don't like. You can't diagnose your own cars anymore because they run on Ethernet.
Another thing that
diagnostic
bothers me
systems.
about it.
All their low-volt electrical systems run on like 9 volts instead of 12, so like you can't put aftermarket accessories in them properly. The fact that they push the nav so hard, and so many of them have it. The electric water pumps, which nobody wants to deal with, things like that. So.
Yeah, just a bunch of garbage.
But they still had hydraulic steering, still had a huge amount of manuals sold.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but I mean, this is the point in which you're grasping at straws.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's arguably an all-around worse car than an E46.
Yeah, and I mean, like you're really grasping at straws to make it a good car. Like you had some cars like Mr. Wags, where that's
Well,
a
that's
good
the best car ever, but it's not. I mean, it's just because you got the right combination of things in that car.
You could configure the car to be good, but that's the thing is
Most of those wagons are terrible.
you had to configure it to be good.
Yeah.
It wasn't just good.
Most of those were automatic 325i X drives.
This brings me
With
to
nav.
Datsun in the 1970s.
Okay.
You could configure that B210
Yeah.
to be a really kick-ass car. Because if you can just bring up the Datsun B210 race car now.
I always like dead air.
So now if you look at the B210 race car, this is kind of what
Oh,
it's
I've
like.
seen these at vintage races. Yeah.
These are great. Like
They
that's
still
a
have
kick-ass
terrible
car.
proportions, but that looks cool.
But that's the thing is that's kind of what Mr. Wags is for the E90. It's not necessarily
Can I just say that I hate Pinterest?
yeah, but Pinterest is terrible. It's not necessarily a fantastic car by any means, but it's
No, it is.
well, I mean, no, Mr. Wags, that Mr. Wags in particular is just like that race car is a great
Yep.
car with a pretty. That particular car has a good racing pedigree.
Yep.
But overall, you can't say with honesty that the B210 is a good car.
No, probably not.
No, they're variants of it that are good. Just like the E90. There are variants of the E90 that are very good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, the E46, it was really hard to buy one that sucked.
Yeah.
And E90s, it was really easy to buy one that sucked.
You screen grabbed that, right? So people can see.
Oh, God damn it, I'm dumb. There.
That is the B210 race car, which is hands down significantly more attractive than the normal one.
Yes.
As we were saying.
Yeah, and it actually has a pedigree.
You can make an E90 cool. It isn't naturally cool. It's much like the B210. It's coming off of their best vehicles.
This was for sale in 9/10/01 for $3,900 apparently.
That is.
I just looked at the page that we're looking at. Apparently, it is still a live listing page.
It's from angelfire.com.
Oh yeah, real good.
All right. Anyway,
then we move on to F30.
We can turn off the screen grab for people.
Fine. Let them watch it.
They're not gonna want to look at that.
Fine. No more screen grab for you. So then we move on to the F30, which was 2012.
Why did they switch it to F?
It has to do with fiber optics in the chassis. That's the only real reason. That's it.
That's really dumb.
Yep. So there you go.
This is, at this point, I'm completely
Stop
lost.
buying. Yeah, just don't buy one of these.
I don't want it at all.
The only redeeming factor of the F-Series chassis is you can get 6-speed manuals in them.
You know what?
What?
Datsun was 50 years ahead of BMW. That's all it was. Because now BMW is exactly where Datsun was.
Does that mean they're going to get their groove back in 10 years?
Maybe. And then, but that's the thing, is they're going to get their groove back in 10 years. For 20 years.
I don't think so, though, because they announced the G23 series or whatever with the manual.
They're going to get their groove back, but it costs them so much money, they're going to go out of business. And they're going to get bought up by Renault.
So Carl Scone's going to be out of jail by then, and he's going to take over BMW? Is that
he's
what
going
I'm
to be
hearing?
incredibly old. He's going to be like Supreme Commander Snope.
And then we're going to get a Citroën Avantime. With
another one.
Yeah,
Yes,
oh, so good. I'm looking forward to this.
So I think that...
But yeah, the F30s were evolution, electric steering, more electric water pumps, timing chains that just dropped out with that corporate 2-liter 4-cylinder. Yeah, the only redeeming factor was the manual in the M3 engine, the 335, 340i engine, which we already had.
I don't...
It's just not good. Just don't buy one.
It's not worth it.
No, so I'm not even going to grace the F30 with more description just because it sucks. And the new one, nobody cares. No manuals at all.
So that's the modern one. That's the current one, right?
The F30, well, technically it's the G20 now, or G30, whatever it is. We talked about it. No manual, no care.
Yeah.
The F30 was until like
it's
this year.
Officially dead.
2018 model year.
Officially dead.
2018 model year kills the F chassis. Now we go to the G chassis.
They only made one F chassis?
3 Series, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so I like doing these quintessential rundowns of generations.
Me too, although I
This
think
is
we're going to
really
have to, for the next one, we're probably going to have to strip out all of the rest of the topics because this is running a little long.
Yeah, this is. Well, we don't need. We can talk about Jerry Seinfeld because I imagine where there's be more that goes on with this.
We'll just follow up on that next week.
Yeah. But anyway,
It is a developing story.
This
So.
is a developing story regarding Jerry Seinfeld. He is still alive. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, he's fine.
He is fine. However, one of his cars is not, which may or may not have been something he knew about. I'm not going to say anything yet.
Hearsay.
And it's all hearsay right now. So we'll get back to it as soon as we know what's going on with the Jerry Seinfeld situation. Now,
Sure hope.
let's
okay.
let's end on a high note. Tell me something fun you learned about cars in the last week.
I learned that the Datsun 510 is way older than I thought it was.
Yeah, I know, right? What about you, honey? You've been quiet the entire episode.
I don't know if I learned anything. I already dropped my cool facts last episode, so.
Yeah, that's the only downside to doing this for the Wednesday episode is we literally just gave him the facts.
I
for the
also
last one, 2 hours
literally
ago.
did not tell you
I know.
that I was going to do this beforehand.
Which
so
is why this high note is really organic and fluid. And
It'll get better. It'll get better. I wanted to start doing this so we can start ending happy, so people go back to work not depressed about how sad the BMW 3 Series is. Honey, tell me something about, I don't know, cute animals.
Chlamydia rates in koala bears is declining.
oh, thank
There
goodness.
we go. That's a happy
I sure
thing.
hope Val Kilmer's
Koala
okay,
bears
too.
are going to be okay. Val Kilmer doesn't have chlamydia. It's a good thing.
That is, see, now what a great day we're having now.
See? Aren't you guys happy? All right. Well, something.
Is this gonna turn into Jana's random animal facts?
Yeah,
I'm fine with
I'm
that.
okay with that. That makes people happy.
Maybe that's just a Carbitrage thing.
Yeah, that'll be our Carbitrage thing. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. We will be back next week on Monday, and we may or may not be talking about Jerry Seinfeld. You don't know.
We will.
Thank you.
We'll cover Jerry Seinfeld. I'll catch you guys on the weekend. Thanks for listening.